Yeah.
They do not have to have hard evidence. They don't have to put people on the trial.
I agree, they don't have to.
But no, that's why the entire hearing was basically hearsay. Then we look at the filings, which came from the defense, and they were requesting an extension saying, we have gone to the prosecution and we have requested all of this stuff in discovery.
Are you just making stuff up?
Yes, Your Honor. My report at the last hearing is the latest report. As of June 18th, we had provided approximately 100% of the material in our possession. Over the last week, we have received additional materials from SBI due to preparation for this hearing. Those materials have not yet been provided, but they will be as soon as this hearing is complete.
Very adamant that his DNA was on the gun itself.
Yes, so the major contributor is the majority of the DNA contributed to that sample.
Analyzed in this question in calculation number 3.
For this exhibit, the DNA profile was at least 1 trillion times more likely if it originated from Tyler Robinson as the major component and 3 unknown unrelated individuals than if it originated from 4 unrelated individuals.
You say at least 1 trillion times more likely. So it could be a much higher number than 1 trillion. Is that accurate?
It's possible.
But to allow it in that way for him to just be able to also have use immunity, knowing that he's not going to get in trouble. He could literally get up there and lie about anything and he's not going to get in trouble.
That never happened. You're just making stuff up.
Any false statement you make and that you do not believe to be true may subject you to criminal punishment as a Class A misdemeanor. Understand that? Yes. It potentially could be used as for punishment as a higher offense as obstruction of justice.
That is not compelling to me for somebody who has use immunity to give a testimony and to say, I'm not really sure, but definitely like he wears jeans and stuff.
That's not what he said.
He did. Actually, you can get a fact check.
It definitely, especially the bottom, the last 2, definitely do look like him. They do look like Tyler Robinson. It definitely, especially the bottom, the last 2, definitely do look like him.
So a couple things we have. We have Rule 801, Tyler's messages, that says it's not hearsay. But first, go to what Candace is asking about Skylar. I think you have it. You just texted me if you want to pull it up. You said you have the text.
It was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. Okay. I literally said to you, it's not an oof.
You're just literally making stuff up. So here's what the position is.
Defeat of the conspiracy slop. But then again, I think I said it at the end of last year. I think it's basically impossible to have any kind of satisfying resolution with the conspiracy side because they are not rational. There is no longer any semblance of objectivity, rationality from the other side. And there was a clip that was going around after the debate on Friday, a clip from my show back in December, and I was reacting to a tweet by Tucker Carlson's brother, Buckley. And they were talking about how Candace Owens, she said something on her show which turned out to be debunked. I forget what it was specifically. It was about, Utah time. She thought Utah, or rather UTC, stood for Utah time zone.
Yeah, and that was part of the whole Egyptian planes thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she thought she was looking at like flight tracker, like flight radar kind of like data, which was made up, by the way. And she was looking at the made up fake data. And she got Universal and Utah time completely mixed up. It's just, you can't even make this stuff up.
Something like that. She got a very important fact wrong. And in any ordinary investigation, any ordinary inquiry, if you get something wrong, you would simply say, well, I got it wrong. I thought it was one way. It turns out to be a different way. and I got it wrong, and this is the real information. That is what any honest, rational person would say. But I distinctly remember back in December, she got a bunch of things wrong. And rather than fess up and just say, hey, we didn't do our due diligence, or we didn't double check it, or we didn't vet the information, I remember Buckley Carlson came out and said that if Candace Owens gets information wrong, the only reason this could possibly happen is that people are trying to trick her. And not just anybody, he said, but there is a state-level effort. In other words, it rises to the level of intelligence agencies and foreign ministries. He said there is a state-sponsored effort to put her off of the track because they are that interested in preventing her from finding the truth. And I remember reading that and thinking, okay, so everything that is being said on the conspiracy side is now unfalsifiable. If they get the information right, if they're proven correct, well, that's because they're right. That's because their theory is correct. And so because this idea that there's this conspiracy, because that happened, well, the facts and the information is going to line up with this. However, if they get it wrong, if the facts debunk them, if new information is discovered which proves them wrong, well, that also vindicates them.
Yeah, it's exactly when we're looking at the Tyler Robinson case, where he's accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk, we are likely looking at a guilty plea. In reality, he's faced the death penalty. There's only really one way to avoid that. The evidence is completely overwhelming. The defense is not using any of Candace's theories or any of her friends' theories. They're not looking at any of that to defend Tyler Robinson. They're most likely, and this is just from the reporting, they're looking at a guilty plea. What do all these people say? What do they all say when Tyler Robinson pleads guilty? That it's a sham trial. Oh, that, they replaced him with a body double. That's not the real him in court. Like, what are they going to say?
Because the only reason they could ever get anything wrong is because people are trying to trick them. And why are people trying to trick them? Because they're right. And there's not even a responsibility to get the facts right. And the information doesn't have to prove any of the theories because the sophistication of these efforts to prove them wrong is so complex. It's coming from governments. It's impossible to beat it. So there's not even a responsibility to get the information right. If you get it wrong, it's not your fault because the people that are trying to trip you up are so sophisticated. They're government level actors. They have virtually infinite resources. And so there's not even a requirement. There's not even an expectation that you're going to get it right. And so I remember when he put that tweet out, I said, you actually can't win the argument because they are no longer rational. If they're right, it's because they're right. If they're wrong, it's also because they're right. If they're wrong, it's because they're so right that foreign governments are trying to trick them because that's how right they really are. And once you get to that level, you realize these are not rational people. You cannot reason with them.
It's like the thing is, guys, and we are living in a time where conspiracy slop or conspiraslop, it's at an all-time high right now. It is being pumped through the social media algorithm driven by engagement and monetization incentives. We need to use our eyes and our ears and our senses and our brains to what we can actually see and hear and verify in reality. That's what we actually have to do. We can't resort to just fantastical thinking like a lot of these people seemingly just want to drift towards. And I don't even think there's like a higher agenda at this. I think, to be honest, vast majority of the people that are pushing this slop and this, I've been calling recently the retard right. A lot of people on the retard right, I don't think there's an overarching conspiracy with that. Maybe there is, but I don't see any evidence really for it. But I do see that they are on social media. They're huge. They are making insane amounts of money via AdSense, X payouts, these type of things. Tucker Carlson, Candace are just the biggest. There's tons of people like this in that ecosystem that are peddling slop, and that's their primary incentive, in my opinion, is financial gain.
Reason doesn't work. Rationality doesn't work. And I think if you watch the debate on Friday, you realize that very quickly. When Andrew Wilson was asking for evidence, she did not have any. When Andrew Wilson asked her, what is the standard to prove your theory? She did not have one. The entire debate was, I feel like, I have a gut feeling, it's legal for me to say this, I'm allowed to say this. And that's really the crux of it.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy, Inspector Inc. And I finally got some time to sit down and watch the Charlie Kirk assassination, which, I was surprised, with all the videos of Candace fans crashing out and talking about how she won. And I thought it was kind of weird, or I thought it was unusual that there were so many personal attacks directed at Andrew Wilson, considering he just wanted to ask her if she had evidence to back up her wild claims and of, like nation state conspiracies, colluding with wives to murder husbands, like just some wild shit. And I noticed that, like, the Three Musketeers, the Candace Boss Girl Avengers, that are like the three dudes, Jesse on Fire, Heavy Duty Country, and Valhalla VHT or whatever. They're all like, they all have about 500,000 subscribers, so not enough to where they could tell Candace that she's fucking psycho and she makes no sense and she sounds like a complete dumbass. But enough subscribers that, like, they can't confront her or challenge her because she's got an army of, like, the wine mom, true crime wine moms, and so I was sort of noticing all these videos and, like, personal attacks, calling Andrew Wilson, like, pickles. Apparently on his podcast, he was unable to open a jar of pickles one day, and then somebody else grabbed him and opened them right up. Shit happens. I mean, he doesn't look like the weakest guy on earth. A pretty random, kind of fucking gay to be calling. Like, that's the insult they're trying to draw so they can attack this dude. He chain smokes. He knows nothing about Charlie Kirk. He's a nobody. It's like, this guy has the intellectual capacity of all three of those dudes, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, and Tucker Carlson, cubed. Like, this dude is smart. He knows how to present an argument. He knows how to answer questions. He knows how to ask questions. He knows how to not allow your opponent to sort of run from questions, or to try to what would be the word, to sort of misdirect or whatever. And so they're us resorting to personal attacks because they watched the same debate as you and I, and they got out of that she won, right? This is they got out of it that she won. Like, when he asked her what percentage did she think that Tyler Robinson, the guy whose own parents said he had become increasingly angry talking about politics at the dinner table, who had said the night before the murder that he was angry at Charlie Kirk, and this gay dude who's dating a trans freak, and he admitted it to his lover, the lover who has qualified immunity. So he doesn't have free immunity to just whatever, as Candace said. Oh, he can just say whatever he wants and he's untouchable. No, he's under very strict boundaries that if he lies about anything, he loses immunity over everything, right? And so he has absolutely no reason to lie about anything. In fact, he was completely open and honest. Yeah, that looks like him. This is what he said to me. He said that he was sorry he did it. I mean, Tyler Robinson confessed 7 or 8 times to his parents, all these people that have no incentive to sort of snitch on him and set him up for a crime he didn't commit, right? But when asked, well, what percentage did she think that Tyler was guilty? She said 0%. Now he thought that he was 75% sure of Tyler's guilt, and that's with a mountain of evidence, of physical evidence. When Candace during this interview said that everything was hearsay, it was just all hearsay, and as you saw in the first video that I posted, confessions, DNA, a handwritten letter, him on video, his own credit card, his own license plate, everything being used at or around that campus on the day, like hundreds of miles from where his home is, has no reason to be in that town. And yet he's there and seen on video, just randomly walking around the campus with a crazy limp and blue jeans. And, but yet these people are just like, Andrew Wilson's Mr. Pickles, stolen valor, like making up all these things, attacking him on everything but the substance of his argument, right? Complete coward shit. This is Jesse on Fire, the sober guy who, he's sober and he will give you these wonderful lectures about sobriety and the beauties of sobriety, and then be twacked out on Adderall on another video, sweating profusely and red as a fire truck. He like slangs, what is it? Kratom by the key, yo Kratom by the kilo, which is like a synthetic opiate. It's crazy. So the dude has like, anytime there's a story about somebody and there's some questionable like sort of rumor about somebody and their kid, he will then use his position as a father to 2 young girls, and he will use that as his reason to morally lecture about what a piece of shit man this is, and how he would, and then he will tell these hypotheticals about how he would, if it was his daughter, he would, he would set up this elaborate scheme so he was out of town, and he would meet this guy on the internet and murder him, and then take him out to like some other place, take his cell phone one way, and then he would go some other way, and he would bury this guy in a deep ditch and cut his fingernail. Like every just sort of like whodunit murder crime mystery, and he'll tell these elaborate stories about what a badass he is and how tough he is. So that's him. And then there's Heavy Duty Country, who's always mad as hell, angry. He's always pissed off at somebody. These guys were all like complete red pill MAGA until Trump. Now Trump got in, closed the borders. Venezuela took not Hugo Chavez, but what's the other one? Whatever. Snatched him up, Delta Force, and brought him back to New York, and he's now like Diddy's cellie. I mean, not really, but like they're in the same county jail. So, but like the first thing, so the Iran didn't go as planned, and now they're like, this is a betrayal of America first. Like Trump never said America only. These guys forget that like the first thing Trump did in 2016 was he used the American military to decimate ISIS and completely rooted them out of Raqqa, Syria, and Mosul, Iraq. And so now he's setting the world straight. And Iran, that completely, an Islamic fundamentalist revolution, a theocratic monarchy, took over a Democrat, a democratically elected state, and took over these billions and billions of dollars of infrastructure from oil companies that had, made the investments to extract oil from their ground, obviously sharing the profits with the Iranians. The country had a lot of wealth. It was very westernized. Women, wore bikinis, sat at the swimming pool, and then these fuckers came in, and it's been death to America, bad death to Israel for the last 50 years. They've killed tens of thousands of Americans. They've been behind every terror organization in the Middle East. They were the ones who planned the October 7th terrorist attack in Israel. They were the ones who funded the Houthis in Libya. They've Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in the Gaza. And so, but these guys are just now so anti-Trump, and Trump's a traitor to the cause, and he's the worst guy ever. And Isreal, they've went off on these crazy, they're completely bought into the Charlie Kirk's death was an inside job, and it was like the Israeli government, the Mossad, assassinated Charlie because Charlie was getting uncomfortable with taking lobbyist money from AIPAC, and in order to politicians that were supporting the best interests of Israel instead of the best interests of the people of the United States of America. And I don't agree with that. I do agree with that. A lot of people agree with that, but it doesn't make Israel like Hamas or like Hezbollah. It doesn't mean all of a sudden that self-defense means war crimes. This is the military that sends leaflets and emails and phone calls warning the Palestinian civilians that they're about to strike their apartment complex because 20 years ago, Hamas decided to build a weapons storage locker underneath their apartment building for this exact reason, so that when they would fire missiles, they could hide under their civilians. And then any sort of act of self-defense, which is completely your God-given right as a human being to defend yourself, that instantly becomes killing civilians and war crimes. It's as dumb as people who believe that when, these Democrat mayors and governors in these sanctuary cities rile their people up and get them all angry and hostile towards ICE, and then set up like these private sort of signal messaging apps so that when they see ICE, they have this like network where, they have drivers and dispatch coordinators and people on the street that blow whistles in their faces, and other people who use their car as battering rams and to block streets. It's like a full operation. And when those obvious confrontations with armed federal agents who are carrying out their duties as federal law enforcement agencies to arrest and detain illegal immigrants who have already had their deportation orders. They've already seen the judge. A judge has already said, yeah, we got your asylum claim. You're full of shit. You weren't fleeing war or famine or certain death. You came from, Peru. You walked through 17 different other countries before you got to America. 17 other countries that are not at war, and you could have easily claimed asylum there. But you came to America because you know that America's got the most generous welfare system in the world. Despite we're told that we're we are responsible for everything wrong in the world. The white, straight American man and American woman. We are, the colonizers. We are the descendants of slave owners. We owe reparations to black people whose who got to America 15 minutes ago and whose parents and grandparents never ever set foot in America, but somehow we owe them money because black people. There were some other black people that they're not related to who were kidnapped by other black people and sold for profit, and then they were put to work as slaves. I mean, definitely not good, nothing to be proud of, but the thing that Democrats always fail to mention is to put slavery in context for the times. At the time that America had slaves, so did every other country on earth. And here's the crazy part. And people get so used to hearing this that it actually loses its meaning. They don't even, they hear it and it doesn't compute. Because when you hear slaves in America, you're like, how could that ever have happened? Oh my God. And it's so unbelievable that people can own other human beings. But then you think oh yeah, they do that in China. The Uyghurs, the Muslim Uyghurs, they're owned by people. They're mistreated and murdered and kept in starved to death in concentration camps. China, they have slaves. They have slaves in the UAE. They have those Indian poor, those dirt poor, third world, from India, obviously. And they build all those amazing hotels that you can see from, the space. You see a palm tree in the middle of the ocean. People, regular people didn't build that shit. That was slaves making pennies a day, living in squalor in these concentration camps, essentially, is what they are. 50 people in a room, everybody's dirty. It's anyway. And then they're forced to buy food from their little place where they live. And it's what they call it, indentured servitude or something. Anyway. So my point is, there was a preliminary hearing a couple weeks ago, and that's where the prosecutor basically is able to present a majority of their evidence without really getting into the weeds on it, and enough so that it's kind of like a grand jury sometimes, but this is what the judge rules on. Is there enough evidence? Is there probable cause, essentially, to take this to trial? Is there, probable cause that the alleged person could be guilty of this? And then they're well, his DNA was found on a murder weapon that was found on top of a roof that there's video of him standing on or kneeling on, or Candace Owens says, doing a military scoot or something ridiculous. Anyway, so, and that preliminary hearing was followed by there was a Joe Rogan's Experience podcast, and I guess Andrew Wilson was on that, and they were talking, and he was talking about Candace Owens' wild conspiracy claims, and always using these sort of anonymous sources, and always teasing out information a bit at a time, and then at some point just completely forgetting the entire allegation, and she moves to something else, from Israeli Nazis to space aliens from Neptune, just random. And then it's do you have any proof that there's space aliens from Neptune? And she's like, well, I can think stuff. It's legal to think, it's yeah, it's one thing to say there's space aliens from Neptune who did it. It's another thing entirely to say, Charlie Kirk's coworkers at Turning Point USA and his bodyguard who makes a living protecting people, and you're saying that they're responsible for his death and they actually had something to do with it. that's a lot different than just having a crazy, whimsical idea. You know, I just had this sort of vibe. But anyway, and so what I'm sort of talking about, I think you guys have already seen the Andrew Tate and Wilson. God, I can't believe I can't. Andrew Wilson. That sort of back and forth, and you know, it could have been an explosive, you know, and like an explosive that caused a wound that penetrated, basically like if you had shoved a pencil into his chest or into his neck, like an explosion that created a perfect hole, and didn't leave any soot or ashes. There was no smoke. There was no, you know, not like, you know, when there was an IED explosion you see in the movies, or you see, there's like limbs and clothes are shredded and there's shit's on fire and the body's charred black. But, you know, the explosion they used on Charlie was a Jewish Israeli bomb or missile, or, I mean, how did they even say that they got it on him? Like what, somebody snuck and, you know, somebody was on a motorcycle and they drove by him and they stuck a sticky bomb on his chest. They patted him on the chest, you know, the old trick where they put the kick me sign on your back. They're like, hey buddy, you give them hell out there today. And they give him a little punch in the chest, like, you get him, killer. And they stuck a little, you know, like a directional shaped charge that exploded his jugular vein in half. I mean, just the dumbest shit, man. Seriously. So, I mean, it's like, where am I going to go? So, state prosecutors, homicide detectives, they went into this hearing and they brought the receipts, right? They didn't, what didn't they do? Well, they didn't bring any of their Jewish assassins or co-conspirators. It's what happens when, like, real evidence walks into a courtroom, right? And nukes the internet's favorite conspiracy theories. And so I guess this is me reacting to the preliminary hearings in Provo, Utah, for the murder of Charlie Kirk. And, you know, what I saw, it wasn't Isreal. It wasn't handlers or the Mossad. It wasn't Erika Kirk, right? It was DNA, ballistics, it was surveillance, it was credit card numbers being used at Chick-fil-A. It was his driver's license, or his driver's plate, or his what's it called, license plate, being seen around the college where Charlie Kirk got assassinated. And it's just supposed to be like you're not adding all these sort of things. If Candace Owens truly thinks these are all sort of this is you know, sort of secondary evidence that's not, you know, you start to add all these things together, and then you think about what are the probability of his license plate and his DNA showing up 300 miles from his house, where he lives and works, and, you know, has a sexual relationship with a furry animal creature looking thing. God, gross. You know, the craziest thing about all this too is, like, it's not like the LGBTQ, like, trans community didn't already have, like, a serious reputation for being, like, damn near terrorists. you know, shooting people, like these little trans girl boys or whatever, walking into schools and shooting people up. And, you know, I guess that's what happens when you have like a population that has a 40% suicide rate, and then you gas them up with all this victimhood posturing shit. Like, you're a victim. They want to unalive you. Them, you know, like them refusing to refer to you by your gender pronouns when you're not around them, right? Like them refusing to not bow down to your compelled speech is somehow victimizing you, right? Because when you're there and someone refers to you, they point to you, or they can say him or her. But when you're not there, they you know, they say things. They talk in terms like referring to you as he or she. And when they refuse to conform to your fictional world of fairy tales, where guys can get pregnant and have abortions, and when they don't do it, you then think that gives you a right to murder people. And it's white straight males who are the privileged ones, who are the violent ones, who are the racist and
stuff that I get when I get it.
So,
and then sharing it with people who are interested. Of course, using it is something that is like obviously the primary benefit.
Okay. I'm trying to think where to even start. So, the evidence has
I'm not going to lie.
Came in. I mean, real evidence, not. It wasn't the like I had this dream.
Isn't something
I got these vibes, bro. The evidence has come in now, and I mean.
Anyway,
the way it always comes in, slowly, under oath, on TV screens. And what did prosecutors show? A surveillance video, a young man on a rooftop, dropping into shooting position, one round fired through Charlie Kirk's neck in front of 3,000 people. The murder weapon, a grandfather's bolt-action Mauser, wrapped in a towel, ditched in the woods. DNA and ballistics linking the weapon to the suspect, Tyler Robinson. The roommate's testimony, who had no incentive to lie. Lance Twiggs, right? Granted, what's it called? Something immune, qualified immunity. Told investigators about Robinson's text, admitting it was him. Quote, "Yeah, I did. I did it. I couldn't take it anymore." The note left under Twiggs' keyboard the morning after, Robinson pacing, crying, saying, "I gotta turn myself in with my parents." There were no handlers, there was no grand design, there was no shadow directing the shot. No Jews, surprisingly enough, showed up in this performance. I was shocked that it looked like this guy, right? There's a little 19-year-old nerd.
The Parker Mountain machine and the Dias aluminum flat dark earth.
And the terrifying part, you know, it's the shell casings that weren't engraved with like a manifesto, like with this long reason for him reaching his breaking point. They were engraved with memes, like furry forum jokes. An old Italian protest song turned into internet gag. If you read this, you're gay, LMAO.
Flat Dark Earth, I got it from Gun Tech.
Robinson texted Twiggs that the messages were mostly a big meme. He was more worried about Fox News seeing the memes and about explaining the missing rifle to his dad than about the man he murdered in cold blood, the father of two.
Light cables and buttons.
It's like it's this.
That's a Unity hot button. You don't make it.
This young kid who had become angry on the internet because politicians and multi-millionaire news anchors told him that he was a victim,
the dust cover, just everything,
and that he should be angry about not being able to play on a women's sports team or use a public restroom,
like quick release,
with a little girl who wants privacy.
Sarah put it myself.
This kid who stewed so long in a world where everything is a bit.
Sort of the new,
he couldn't tell the difference between a meme and a murder until he had already committed it. Disgusting. And this is where it's like I want to crash out on the people pushing alternative stories.
With the primary.
Everyone wants this murder to mean something for their side. The left wants him to mean one thing. The right wants him to mean another. The conspiracy theorists just wanted him to be a puppet of the Jews.
Which is also what your defense does their.
But the preliminary hearing, none of those stories showed up.
PMAG 3, the window.
The evidence is, or was, or I guess it is, because we haven't had the trial yet. It's refusing to become a clean narrative. There's no clean story. Just irony and a rifle and a daddy drifted away.
But I like it. I like
from
just all over colors.
That he drifted away from, and a joke residing in a place where his conscience should have been.
That's my rifle. Oh, and I just wanted to point out the
he praises people like
and the pivot
data Republicans for tearing apart claims with facts, not feelings. His challenge: we have to, as a country, be willing to find the answer you don't want. The prosecutor was on it.
That's what I mean. Just
right? And the defense team never once offered up a single theory that Candace Owens has been promising us for a year.
Got the Zev Technologies OZ9 with the short.
Charlie Kirk believed in how would you say it?
6 hour P226.
He did not believe in censorship. He believed in sunlight, right? He believed in. He believed in showing people the facts, showing people the evidence, letting people make up their minds for themselves.
Called the Cyclops compensator.
He believed in letting evidence compete with itself and with other evidence. The way to honor him is to not win the narrative war over his body. It's to want the true answer more than the useful or satisfying one that makes you feel good because you're right and because you made the other guy wrong. And right now, what people are selling you is the Jews did it.
Grip module, lower.
I mean,
and a 4.
Tyler Robinson didn't do it.
If it's unthreaded.
Right, and if by some chance, and he did, well, it's because he was a patsy, and he couldn't say no to a government handler forcing him to take the shot. Right, it'd be the only time in history that a teenager was able to keep a secret. Right? Hey, Mom, guess what? This CIA dude says that I have to kill Charlie Kirk. I don't want to do it. Right? And yet, that's what Candace wants you to believe.
Switchblade at the top is it's got that hellhound.
It's transparent now who did. We still need a trial. A jury still has to decide. But let's wait for the facts, right? We've only seen a portion of the facts. I'm sure we'll see the supporting evidence that proves those facts, turns them from theories into established facts.
It
seems like this case became extremely personal for a lot of people, because politics is so forefront on everybody's mind. Everybody's angry. Everybody feels that their way is the right way to do it. ICE is not just doing their job. They're either the Gestapo, Nazi stormtroopers, or they're saving America from economic collapse. It's just not, it's just not like a normal job that somebody can have. Now, when people say they work for ICE, they get looked at, right? And it's either a scowl and seething hatred, or it's somebody thank you for your service, thanks for putting up with these fucking idiots, that blow whistles in your face, because you're simply trying to do a job, and send this 23-year-old able-bodied male back to his third world country so he can rebuild his country and hopefully get it into a place so that America is one day or his country is one day like America, right? Because when our ancestors, when they experienced turmoil, when they experienced oppression, they fought a civil war and won. Many of them died. But then what'd they do? When times got tough, did they run off somewhere? Begging for free handouts? It's too hard to do this. It's too hard to, to make a piece of this earth, a slice of this earth, into some place that's beautiful or that's that has value, right? And that comes down to culture. It's in the Middle East, you in some countries it's absolutely spotless. There's no litter, and the people are extremely clean. They wear white dresses for F's sake. You know what I mean? They're so clean that they can wear white around all day, and they don't get dirty. I mean, everything is either glass or marble for these people. And then the others, they have open urine and fecal matter in their mud huts in Afghanistan. In some of those places where those or those poppy seed farmers lived and would harvest poppy plants and opium that they could later then turn into heroin. Those people, I've heard stories of our troops going into some of these huts and it just smelling like an absolute outhouse, and they look in the middle of a kitchen and there's a literal hole that they dig, and then they cut a small trench so that the urine drains down, they carve it out so that it has a slight angle, and it goes under their wall and out into the street. I mean, absolute poverty, absolute filth, trash, litter everywhere, so it all comes down to culture. And in some cultures it's completely acceptable to stone your wife to death if you catch her cheating, right? And to force her to do things, and to force her to stay inside, and to force her to wear a burqa or a niqab, whatever it's called, a niqab, something like that. Whatever it is, where it's basically your eye, the pupils of your eyes are the only thing that are showing. These people, they make burqas look like a G-string, really. So, but yeah, this case, it got so personal for so many people, and it's just I don't even know what to say. It's growing up in a culture where everything's a joke and God's not in the picture. There's so many godless kids today. I mean, I was just thinking about when I was in the 70s, as I was a little kid in grade school, you know, in the late 70s, like, God was not like something that was even debated. It was like there was Jesus and there was God and there was heaven and hell, and like everybody had a religion.
What's
like
up,
nobody
guys?
was like
It's your
running
boy,
around
Ink.
being like, God isn't real.
Back at it.
You know, have 50 abortions.
You know what this
like
thing
live
is?
just a
This
life
thing
of
is
absolute
like
sin.
the,
Steal as much as you can.
The rifle that made this
Defraud,
channel.
like steal from your
And,
employer. Clean
I
the
got a
register
message
out
the
after
other-
every
the other
shift.
day,
Like
and it was like,
these are things, and it's
said,
gotten
"Hey, would
so
you wanna
bad
do a breakdown
because
on the-
our
or he said,
our
I'll
society
post the picture
is
of the
enabling
screenshot
it.
of the
Like you have this
what to do
defund the
to
police
ask. He's like,
movement, and then they're like, well, people
okay,
are
break
not
it down
starting
or
to
whatever.
die too much.
And,
so
so I
how
did.
else can we cater to the,
what I'm gonna do,
you know, the population
is,
that can't, they
go
can't
through
resist
this
not
and
committing
just,
crime. Right? They have to
go
be
through
stealing.
every
They have
last,
to be fighting. They have to be
accessory
slinging dope.
component and part.
They have to be like.
It's a build
There's
list.
just, you know, and I'm not saying that's
top
for
to bottom,
every person
front to back,
in a
left to
race
right,
or a
from the
specific
flow
culture.
to the
There's always every race, always has its
and,
geniuses.
so
it
what
always
I'm
has
gonna
its
do
retards. It always has its violent criminals that can't help themselves
we're
from
gonna come up with a
physically attacking
grand
people
total
that, you know,
of what it
they can't
costs to
keep
build
their
something
hands
like
to
this.
themselves. There's always those people.
I spared no expense.
You know, it's just there's always those people in greater numbers in certain communities.
Bought what I
And I don't mean like greater numbers, like a couple extra. I mean like
were the best parts for what
like,
this rifle is best suited.
The problem
to,
is trying to find the ones who aren't
particularly.
Like that. It's not like counting how many criminals you have in your culture.
But
it's like,
really
can
good
you
at
find
everything,
any that aren't
you know.
criminals? Is
11
that
and a
even
half
possible?
inches, I've heard, is pretty much the sweet spot for.
Anyway, man, I just thought I was making a video that was gonna sort of show case my
have the government's
my
permission
HK,
to
the
maximize the
MP5, the
effectiveness
BNT,
a rifle for self-defense.
USW, conversion
but,
chassis with the Block 17.
Needless to say,
and the Rattler,
you do.
Is that HK
Thank God
SP5,
that
the
it,
Spear LT.
no longer costs money.
And I did like a
to,
short video of each, and then a couple pictures
have
of
the
each.
government bestow
And
upon us
and then I started noticing once
the,
again, like another video, like a
the
round table
second-class citizens
of like Jesse on Fire and Heavy Duty Country and Valhalla,
God-given
VH,
right
whatever. And these guys are again, they're just like
self-defense.
attacking.
Anyway,
attacking
so,
Andrew Wilson.
this is the
You know,
this is it.
he's
And,
like he's a master, like a master at debate, especially political debate.
Special Forces special.
And we all know
I was
Jesse
watching that the other night.
struggles
I thought it
when
was
it comes to
funny. It had,
that.
Rob
You know, he
O'Neill
tried a couple
and,
years ago or a year ago or whatever.
Tim Kennedy.
And
I thought that was
made an ass of
the
himself.
funny.
You know, I think it was
duo
Destiny
to be,
said something about Trump wanted them to send an unslated group of electors,
called it
and
his,
and that's illegal and blah blah. And then
anyway.
and he was like, he's like, well, I don't really know much about politics. I just know that the vaccine, blah blah blah, and it didn't take much to learn the basics of like some of these things about voting. If you don't think the vote was legitimate, learn about how the process, and learn about all the sort of the points where things could have went wrong. All the sort of the criminal indictments and what people in what positions were indicted for. And were those indictments sort of politicized, or were they for real fraud and trying to commit real acts of treason on elected officials, on duly elected officials? So, anyway, that's enough of me talking. You know, anybody out there who's saying that Candace won is just completely coping. She not only did she not win, but she couldn't she couldn't explain her accusations. She provided no evidence. Every time that, you know, he would sort of press her, she would like sort of play the role of the girl that's being picked on, you know, and give these goofy, like sort of dumb, sad eyes. Like she just got caught in a lie, or she's, you know, just being dishonest or whatnot. And so, yeah. And so I saw that, you know, I was making a video, just some gun porn, some sloppy gun porn, nasty gun porn is what it was. Straight up, like, filthy, nasty gun porn. With the spear LTs completely spread, butt cheeks wide open. Just kidding. You guys are like, dude, ink. Inspector Ink is melting down. What's wrong? Anyway, okay, guys, that's it. I'm out of here. I hope you enjoyed that. If you guys have any opinions on the Charlie Kirk, either the preliminary hearing, any of the evidence you find compelling or not compelling or unremarkable, any sort of things that you heard throughout that preliminary hearing, or even in the debate with Candace and Andrew, were there any sort of moments where you were thinking and you were like, wait, that doesn't make sense? You know? And if so, what are they? I thought Andrew killed it. I mean, obviously, here's my only gripe was that he wasn't cruel enough. Right? She's been an absolute bitch, and she's been downright evil, considering that the people that she's blaming is the wife. Like, how, you know, she's got 2 kids, and you know, like, what if her kids come home one day and I'd be like, did you murder my daddy? You know, like, some crazy conversations might need to be going on. So, anyway, man, I hope you liked it. That's it. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.